Welcome to Good for Bitcoin, a weekly show recorded live every Friday, where we recap the top events of the week and talk about everything that is good for Bitcoin. If it's built on Bitcoin, then it's good for Bitcoin. Let's get started.
Content shared on this podcast is for informational and entertainment purposes only. It does not constitute financial, investment, or legal advice. The views and opinions expressed are those of the host and guests and do not reflect the official policy or position of any other agency, organization, or company. We encourage you to conduct your own research and consult with a qualified professional before making any financial decisions.
Well, hello, everybody. Welcome to Good for Bitcoin. My name is Brandon, social media manager at Trust Machines, joined by my co-host, Kate, community lead. Happy Friday, Kate.
Happy Friday, Brandon. Hey, everybody tuning in. How's your week been so far?
It's been good. It's been kind of a slow week, I feel like, news-wise. And it's I feel like it started off busy. We started our new Season 4 Zeely campaign, and we broke the network again. And then things quieted down after that. And it's just been a bit of a lull, I guess. Maybe everyone's just out touching grass, enjoying their summer, and back to school, I think, is happening soon.
Yeah.
So maybe...
Yeah, I hope that's the case. Well, I'm enjoying the dip a little bit. For anyone who's asking, is this a good time to buy? Yeah, it's always a good time to buy. But yeah, it seems like the price of Bitcoin's dipped a little bit this week. And, not really sure why, but that's part of the game. But yeah, the news has been like a little bit quiet this week. I know we have some stuff to go over for sure, but it's definitely been like a slower week all around in the Bitcoin world.
Yeah, it definitely feels like it. I have dollar cost averaging set up to buy every 2 weeks. I've had it for forever. And today was the day. Just so happened that, we have a little dip. I tweeted it out, but it's pretty crazy that 117K is considered a dip these days.
I know.
It's pretty amazing.
Yeah.
How far we've come.
One day we'll look back and it's the same thing of I can't believe it was only 117.
I know. Pretty classic. Yeah,
Yep.
I mean, it's less, it's less buying Bitcoin, more selling fiat. That was another tweet that I saw this
that.
week.
Yep.
It makes total sense, right?
I listened to a really good, I've always liked Jeff Booth. He's a Canadian Bitcoiner, and I've always liked his message. And I recently listened to one, he was on a podcast called Simply Bitcoin. And he's really talking about, if you're still pricing Bitcoin in fiat dollars, you're still part of that fiat system. But it was just a really good listen. And so I would encourage anyone, if you're looking for some good Bitcoin listens, that was a really good one.
Nice. I'll have to check that one out. I agree, though. He is. I've heard him on a lot of different podcasts and stuff. He's always good.
Yeah.
I was also listening to, at the start of our show, we cut it out of the podcast version, but the start of the live show, we always play "Good for You," and I'm kind of getting sick of that song, and I feel like we need our own song. We experimented with an AI one that was pretty bad.
It was pretty funny.
It was funny, but it was not, I don't know. It didn't scratch the itch of being a good podcast theme song. I was
agree.
listening to this other podcast that has nothing to do with crypto called Switched on Pop. Big fan of that podcast. They dissect pop songs that are trending or
cool.
popular. Super interesting. And they had an episode specifically on podcast theme songs. And there's a lot of similarities between different podcast theme songs that you wouldn't necessarily, think about.
Yep.
And it just it kind of got me thinking man, we need a new song that is our own. I don't know. We need to create that somehow.
Well, we can create that, or maybe there's someone, if you're a musician listening, definitely reach out to either one of us. It'd be cool to have a custom one, because the AI one that we put together, it's very AI.
It was very AI.
But yeah. Or who knows, maybe Taylor Swift will have a good one on her new Orange Era.
True.
You never know.
Orange Era. We'll see. Yeah. Yeah, that was the biggest news this week.
Actually,
probably.
it was.
Taylor Swift just dominated everything. Yeah, I haven't watched through the whole podcast yet.
No, me either.
On, but it's 2 hours long.
Yeah, my friends gave me some good spark notes on it. So
yeah. Anyway. You have some exciting news for Leather to tease. I don't think these updates are out yet, but we have a couple updates that are coming very soon that we're both very excited for.
Yeah. So they're not officially out yet, but if you're listening, I'll give you a little insight as to what's coming up. So when we launched mobile, obviously one of the most important things to have in a mobile wallet is to be able to send your tokens. And at the moment, you're not able to send SIP10 tokens, so any token that's on stacks, but that is coming. I think we're kind of in like a testing in production right now, so it should be coming soon, but you'll be able to obviously receive any tokens, which you can now, but you'll be able to send them as well. So that's huge, especially for, doing DeFi transactions, or if there's, an NFT mint or something that you wanted to do and you're only on your phone. That's huge. So that's going to be pretty exciting. The next one is still very much in the process as well, but it's mostly just giving like multi-wallet support in the extension. So you can, import any wallet and basically view it as one view in Leather. So that's pretty exciting. And, as soon as that is out, we'll share the news, but definitely those are the top things to be looking forward to if you're using Leather.
Yeah, very excited for that. I know SIP10 support is something that the community has been asking for since day one almost. And I am personally very excited for the multi-wallet support. Like, we have that on mobile. It's really awesome to be able to. I should also clarify, you can have multiple accounts. This is multiple wallets. So that means that you can have like multiple private keys essentially, and then be able to manage all of them without having to like log out, log in, like some people have to do now.
Yeah.
And that kind of opens the door. Obviously we already have like Ledger support on the extension, but being able to support multiple wallets, it opens up, options for Ledger support, for the ability to have like read-only wallets, for like watch wallets in the future. So it opens up a lot of potential new features in the future. So very excited that, that these are coming very soon. Cool. Let's get into our favorite category, which is public companies buying Bitcoin. A little slower this week also in public company buying Bitcoin news, although Strategy did buy some Bitcoin this week. So they are back after a couple week long hiatus. But we'll start with Metaplanet. They bought 518 BTC this week. They now hold 18,113.
Yeah, so as you mentioned, Strategy back in the arena. They bought 115 Bitcoin. I wonder if that's their smallest buy. I don't know what their smallest buy would be.
That's not a typo. That's small.
And their holdings are now 628,946 Bitcoin.
Yeah, we had DDC Enterprise bought 120 Bitcoin. They now hold 488.
Then we have the MicroStrategy of France, which is capital B. They bought 126 Bitcoin for a total holdings of 2,201.
And Smarter Web Company bought 2, now holding 2,935.
Do you want to get into this one? I know this one excites you. The Nakamoto, I always say Nakamoto, completing their merger with Kindly MD.
Yeah, I don't know why I'm excited about this. I don't own any, for the record, but so Nakamoto officially completed their merger. So they have now formed the quote Nakamoto Bitcoin Treasury company. So that has officially closed. I think they already had moved their ticker over to the NAKA ticker public company several weeks ago, but now it's just officially kind of closed. And the biggest news with that closure is now they can start buying Bitcoin. They have a lot of money on the sidelines that they've been waiting on to actually buy Bitcoin. So there's this tweet from David Bailey, who's the CEO this week. He said, "Ever since getting into Bitcoin, I've always had this dream of smash buying $1 billion worth of Bitcoin in a single bid. Tomorrow, that dream comes true." He was talking about the closure happening. He later clarified that he was rounding up from $762.5 million. But still, that means that we have a $760 million Bitcoin bid on the horizon. Based on price action, doesn't necessarily seem like it's happened yet. They haven't announced that the buy has happened yet. But if they do, kind of based on current prices, that would put them in 15th place in Bitcoin Treasury rankings, behind Block and Galaxy. So they still have a long way to go to catch up to Strategy.
That's insane. A smash $1 billion buy is insane.
That's pretty nuts. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, and then we have a wealth management firm called Corio. They revealed that they have $6.5 million in Bitcoin ETF holdings.
Yeah, so we saw there's been it's kind of like earnings season, so a lot of these public companies are coming out with their public financial statements, things like that. So we're seeing some revealings happening as a result of that. We also saw Circle share their first earnings as a public company with some pretty crazy numbers here. Just wanted to read them off. $61.3 billion worth of USDC is in circulation. That's up from 90%. That's up 90% year over year. So crazy, growth there. There's $5.9 trillion in on-chain transaction volume, which is up 5.4x year over year. $658 million in total revenue and reserve income, up 53% year over year. And 5.7 million, what they're calling meaningful wallets, which are wallets that hold more than $10 of USDC, which is up 68% year over year. I didn't get too much into this news, but they also announced their own stablecoin L1 called ARC.
Yeah.
So they're also going to be competing in the L1 space. And I feel like we haven't really covered it too much because obviously we talk about Bitcoin here mostly, but there's been a few of these like stablecoin L1s that have been popping up over the past few months from these different companies.
Yeah, I imagine we'll see a lot more of that too. These institutional players are so big, like it makes sense that they would just launch sort of their own network and save on fees or keep the fees or whatever it is. So I imagine we'll see more of these plays this year, especially with the Genius Act and everything unfolding.
Totally. Yeah, it's like that vertical integration. You've seen, with Coinbase launching Base, they've also, made a ton of money off of that, right? With all the fees that have accumulated to Base. And there's been a lot of, I think, controversy because Base is technically like an Ethereum L2, but it's not really giving many fees back to the L1. That's kind of one of the main criticisms of all these Ethereum L2s and why Ethereum has been struggling is, the L2s aren't really sustaining the L1 like we're seeing on Bitcoin. So that's been a criticism there.
So then we have a couple of institutions. They're not public companies, but you definitely know them. Harvard University revealed that they own $117 million worth of IBIT in an SEC filing. And then I dug a little deeper just to see like if there was other universities or sort of academic institutions. And I found Brown University. They also own 212,500 shares of IBIT as of June 30th. So this is valued at $13 million. And then the Michigan State Pension Fund reported that they own 300,000 shares of the ARC Bitcoin ETF as of June 30th. So that's valued at around 11 million. And if you look back, they had 100,000 shares in March. So they've almost tripled their ownings.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
It's very cool to see, these companies, they're not necessarily like Bitcoin focused, right? They're just buying Bitcoin as part of just their greater kind of portfolio. And they're just, managing risk and managing inflation and just doing the things that, public companies or, these bigger institutions need to do. So pretty cool stuff.
Very cool. So we had some big news on the Stacks front this week.
We did, yeah. So there was a Stacks town hall that happened on Tuesday, I think, and it was a pretty important one because there was a few pretty big announcements that came from it. Biggest one is the announcement of Stacks Labs. So Stacks Labs actually technically already existed in the ecosystem. It was, I forget his handle off the top of my head. I know his name is Sam, owned it in the Stacks community. And I think Stacks Labs is, transitioning to this new entity that was outlined in SIP 31. And Alex Miller, who's the CEO of Hero, has been named the interim CEO of this new company, Stacks Labs. So that's pretty exciting. We have a company name, things are moving.
Yeah. And I think, it's such a big overhaul. So there's like a lot of things happening behind the scenes, I guess. And I think like within the next couple of weeks, we'll see like a lot of implementation and changes, the things that we're talking about. But it's definitely a big overhaul. And I just put a note in here, if you're interested to learn more, I'm definitely going to be tuning in next week. Alex Miller, he's hosting basically a Stacks Labs office hours on Monday at 12:30 time. And he's just going to be going over his role as CEO, sort of what the SIP implementation will look like. And he's just awesome when he talks about, like, he's very, I don't know what the term, maybe just like conversational, like he's not beating around the bush. He just says it like it is. And I don't know. I'm really excited to hear what he's going to talk about on Monday.
Yeah, he's pretty like frank with like where things are and where things are going and what he thinks about different things. He's done a really great job on just all the communication through like, the SIP process.
Has been awesome.
Has been really good. Yeah, so definitely tune into that, and we'll of course be covering more news as it comes out. I feel like overall like the community is getting a little antsy with like, okay, SIP SIP happened, the hard fork happened. Now what? And there's been a lot of stuff that's been happening behind the scenes that we've kind of seen some of it that, is still going on to spin up this entity and to get things going. So more to come, I guess. But yeah, very cool that, that we have, people like Alex that are being so open and transparent on like having these office hours and stuff like that. It's pretty cool.
Yeah.
Did you see any of these comments from the Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent this week? It seemed like he was doing a lot of different like interviews and things.
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah. So he was, so he had like a few different tweets. He was like interviewed on Fox News, a few different things. Wanted to recap. So he put out this tweet this week that was probably one of the more bullish things, I guess, of the week. He said, basically confirming Bitcoin that has been finally forfeited to the federal government will be the foundation of the strategic Bitcoin reserve that President Trump established in his March executive order. In addition, Treasury is committed to exploring budget-neutral pathways to acquire more Bitcoin to expand the reserve and to execute on the president's promise to make the United States the, quote, Bitcoin superpower of the world. So kind of just doubling down on the executive order and just confirming that information, which is cool.
Yeah, there was like a lot. I feel like there was a lot of FUD on, especially Bitcoin Twitter. Basically, people were saying like, oh, they're not keeping their promises. They said they were going to be buying Bitcoin and all of this stuff. And then, with some of these statements, like people were pretty disappointed. But at the same time, I don't know, it feels like they keep putting out like different executive orders or statements that are very much in favor of Bitcoin, obviously not selling. I don't know what budget neutral pathways means, but I don't know. Seems bullish.
Yeah, I think budget neutral pathways basically means that they're not going to like raise taxes to buy Bitcoin. They're going to, find ways to either like save some money in one place so that they could take that money and, buy Bitcoin with it or something like that. TBD on like buying Bitcoin. He sort of reiterated that they would not be buying more Bitcoin also this week on a Fox News interview. But yeah, he just, again, reiterated that they would be holding on to any confiscated BTC with no intention of selling it. He also confirmed some amount of Bitcoin that they had. He said that the U.S. Bitcoin reserves are worth between $15 and $20 billion, which that's pretty broad, number based on the price of Bitcoin. That means that they have between 125,000 and 166,000 BTC that they're aware of.
Well, that is good because I know that we had talked about in the past the FOIA request where it looked like we were only holding like 30,000 Bitcoin. So that I feel like it's good that they've clarified, we're somewhere in this range, which is much more in line with the estimates that we originally thought.
Totally. This one was pretty cool.
Yeah.
The tech nerd in me got excited about this news. So Block, who owns like Square, Jack Dorsey's company Block, they have a mining company called Proto, and they announced a modular Bitcoin mining rig. And yeah, I did want to share their website just because it's very visual. It's pretty cool looking.
It's really nice.
Just so we can get a little look at this thing. So it's a modular Bitcoin mining rig. You can see here there's like these fans. If I scroll down, it's all modular. So they talk about the fact that it's tool free, on the rack upgrades and repairs in under 90 seconds. So if like a fan breaks down, you can just rip the one part out and you can just replace it really easily. And you don't have to replace the entire unit. I think they were comparing with, when you think of like Bitcoin miners that are kind of larger on the industrial scale, you might think of like Bitmain, like the Ant miners, those types of machines. If a board in one of those machines fails, for example, you have to replace the entire thing, or you have to send the entire thing in for repair. It's much more difficult to repair specific components of a mining rig. So they're coming out with this new sort of solution. Is just much more modular, allows you to swap in and swap out different components. And for, these bigger mining companies, that can't afford downtime, over time, they say that it's going to be just a cheaper, it's certainly not cheap.
Yeah.
A less expensive option for them, which is pretty cool. But yeah, just to sort of break down. So because it's modular, they advertise a 15% cost reduction over time compared to replacing the whole unit. So you can see here, it's just like a little graph that they show that demonstrates that. And up to 9 boards fit in one chassis. It is up to 819 terahashes per chassis or per rig. They kind of compare this to the performance with the Bitmain Antminer S21, which is Bitmain's highest performance air-cooled machine that they have. If you put 2 of them side by side, it's like roughly the same size as one proto rig. But in comparison, the Bitmain rigs, those 2 Bitmain rigs together would be 540 terahashes versus this one, which is 819. So way, way more power behind these guys. So yeah, pretty cool stuff. And I think they're made in the USA. So
this is so cool.
Good for the US, I guess.
Yeah, this is really cool. This will definitely help, well, with e-waste, obviously, because I think like a lot of people think that Bitcoin mining, there's a lot of environmental concerns. So this definitely is a win. You know, if something breaks, you don't have to throw the whole machine out. You can just like swap it for a small amount, which obviously reduces a lot of the metals and plastics and all of the components that go into forming a Bitcoin miner. So I think that this is definitely like a FUD buster, if you want to call it that.
Totally. Yeah, there's been just overall like in tech, there's been a lot more energy towards like the right to repair movement.
Yeah.
And yeah, like if one thing breaks in your, in your device, it doesn't just render the thing like trash basically, and you have to like buy a new one.
Yeah.
So yeah, pretty cool, to have like a Bitcoin miner that also sort of has these qualities.
We need to, I don't know if you guys have this problem, but with printers, there's always been this problem where like if you run out of ink, it's cheaper to just buy a new printer than to buy like an ink replacement. We need to get this tech into big printer.
This is lore that I've never shared. One of my first jobs actually was at Office Max. So one of my first jobs was actually selling printers.
Must have made a killing.
Yeah. Definitely lots of ink ink sold. Yeah, I don't think I've owned an ink printer I don't actually think I've ever owned an ink printer. My parents had one, but we have laser printers.
Oh, okay.
They're way better.
Yeah, that's very true.
Yeah. Way cheaper over time.
Yeah, big time.
This actually just came out this morning, I think. So I wanted to put this in here. Federal Reserve is set to scrap this program that was devoted to policing banks on crypto, Bitcoin, and fintech activities. They released a pretty small press release, so I think I can kind of just read it, the quote here. So it says, the Federal Reserve Board on Friday announced that it will sunset its novel activities supervision program and return to monitoring banks' novel activities through the normal supervisory process. Since the board started its program to supervise certain crypto and fintech activities in banks, the board has strengthened its understanding of those activities, related risks, and bank risk management practices. As a result, the board is integrating that knowledge and the supervision of those activities back into the standard supervisory process and rescinding its 2023 supervisory letter creating the program. So every week we're talking about these types of examples where all these federal companies, different, what do we call it? The word salad or all the different acronyms, right?
Yeah. Alphabet soup or something.
The alphabet soup. Yeah. All the alphabet soup companies, no, not companies. What am I saying?
Yeah.
Redacting all these different letters and different policies and things like that. So just another example of that. I looked into what that 2023 letter actually said. I pulled a couple quotes from it. It said the program will work in partnership with existing Fed Reserve supervisory teams to monitor and examine novel activities conducted by supervised banking organizations. Supervised entities engaging in novel activities will not be moved to a separate supervisory portfolio. But then it also said that the program will be risk-based and the level and intensity of supervision will vary based on the level of engagement in novel activities by each supervised banking organization. These are all these things that we saw that sort of caused this Operation Choke Point 2.0, where, they're not necessarily saying you can't work with these companies, but they're just saying, hey, we're going to make it really hard for you to work with these companies. Mm-hmm. So most banks were just like, I don't want to bother. I don't want additional oversight. I don't want, all this additional burden. And then they just didn't do it. So, seeing all of these things get removed is just great news for the industry that, banks are going to be able to get more on board with crypto, especially stable coins, you know,
Yeah.
and all these other things. So yeah, just more positive news.
Yeah. Love it. It's good to see that they're not being penalized and put in this like regulatory penalty box just because, right? Like that's obviously not what we want.
Totally. Yeah, that's a good way of putting it.
Yeah. All right, I can get into this one. I don't know if you saw this one for any of the gold bugs out there. It's kind of funny.
I did not. This is cool.
Yeah, so the gold market kind of
it's cool.
I don't know if it's cool, but it's funny. The gold market kind of had like a little bit of a scare this week. I think there was like a communication breakdown, but basically there was news that broke out. I think it started from like the US Border Services. I don't know if they put out a memo or something, but basically they were saying that any Swiss refined gold bars could face up to a 40% tariff under like Trump's trade rules. And so obviously the gold market went crazy and there was this huge volatility because of this, because a 40% tariff on gold is just wild. And Switzerland refines about 2/3 of the world's gold. So like the idea of taxing all of those bars is just, it's huge. And I think it sent the futures market in December, like it spiked by $100 an ounce. And then basically the White House came in and said like, no, like calm down. We're not going to tariff gold. But it just sent like this spiral of panic really through the gold market. But then what was also interesting was like the Federal Reserve published a note basically exploring whether the US could revalue its current gold reserves to help tackle the debt. And if you look deeper, America holds around 261.5 million ounces of gold. So if they currently value this gold at a price of $42. This is like the price that they valued it in, I guess it would be like during the gold standard. I think that was 1970s or something. But basically, if they revalued it in today's terms, it would be around $2,000 an ounce. So that would obviously create this huge repricing, and it would make like the government's gold reserves looks much more valuable on paper, and give them a lot more room when they're dealing with the current debt. So not sure if they will or not. It's just been something that's like been speculating. Obviously, if they did, it would be a huge shift in U.S. monetary policy. And I think the last time they did it was 1934 during a major economic crisis. So it could happen. Who knows if it will? But if anything, if it does, it's just sort of this admission that like money really needs the backing of a scarce asset. And then obviously it brings Bitcoin into question because Bitcoin is digital gold, or gold is, what is it called? Physical Bitcoin. But yeah, it's I don't know. It's like we'll see how this one plays out. Michael Saylor obviously got involved, and he said there's no tariffs in cyberspace. So yeah, what do you think about this one?
Yeah, 100% can't tariff Bitcoin. That's certainly true. Yeah, I saw the second part on revaluing the gold, going back to, you know, these budget neutral strategies to acquire more Bitcoin. Some people were speculating, like, can they revalue gold and then take that like new, you know, that difference in cost and like take that money and buy Bitcoin with it? And is that like a budget neutral strategy?
Yeah.
People are speculating that. That sounds, I don't know how like feasible that is, but that would be a lot of Bitcoin if you know, an increase from $42 to $2,000.
Yeah,
that's a lot.
That would be the smart move, maybe, but I
It's
don't
also
know.
just like how it's almost 100 years that they haven't done this.
Yeah,
why?
I don't know. I was trying to figure this out, and like I couldn't really get a conclusive answer other than it's just like it's an old accounting number, and I think maybe if they did revalue it, it would kind of signal that like our economic policy is not strong. I'm not really sure. I think I need to do some more research on this, but I don't know why you wouldn't value it in today's terms.
Yeah, like why would you not just like do it every year, or like I don't know, it just seems odd that they wouldn't. Yeah, they would wait that long. But yeah, I think that about wraps it up for the week. Again, kind of another slower week. I've had a couple slow weeks past few weeks on the news side, but that's okay. We'll cover what is there or what is not there, and we'll see y'all next week, I guess.
Yeah, that sounds good. Thank you guys for tuning in. Have a great weekend.
Cool. Bye, y'all.
Bye.
Thank you for listening. We record Good for Bitcoin live every Friday at 2 p.m. Eastern Time on X. Please follow us at Trust Machines Co. if you would like to listen and engage with us live. Visit us at trustmachines.co for all the latest Bitcoin news. We'll see you next week.